Sargent, Pulisic and Weah lead the line. For Wales, it's Hennessy in goal, Williams, Davies, Mepham, Rodon and Roberts in the defence, Ramsey, Ampadu and Wilson the midfield three, with Bale and James up top. Not long until kick-off for this World Cup Group B clash between the USA and Wales. The Americans are back in the biggest football tournament after failing to qualify for the 2018 edition in Russia. The qualification process could have been easier after scraping through via goal difference at the expense of Costa Rica. 6 of Greg Berhalter's starting 11 plied their trade in England, whilst Walker Zimmerman is the only member of the starting 11 to not play in Europe. 64 years of hurt are over for Wales as they played their first game at the World Cup finals since 1958. Despite the feel-good factor around the camp and the country, there will be concerns of the side's form going into this fixture, as the Dragons are winless in 5, drawing just 1 game. Rob Page names a defensive 5-3-2 formation with captain and talisman Gareth Bale starting up top. So the lineup's in full. For the USA, it's Turner in goal, Dest, Ream, Zimmerman and Robinson the back 4, McKennie, Adams and Musa the midfield, Sargent, Pulisic and Weah lead the line. For Wales, it's Hennessy in goal, Williams, Davies, Mepham, Rodon and Roberts in the defence, Ramsey, Ampadu and Wilson the midfield three, with Bale and James up top. Not long until kick-off for this World Cup Group B clash between the USA and Wales. The Americans are back in the biggest football tournament after failing to qualify for the 2018 edition in Russia. The qualification process could have been easier after scraping through via goal difference at the expense of Costa Rica. Well, we'll leave that there, and it's a warm welcome to you all for this late kick-off in the World Cup between the USA and Wales, the second fixture of Group B, and they would have all kept their eyes on the earlier result between England and Iran. England winning 6-2 in the end, so on paper this looks to be a game to very much verify who's most likely to finish second in that group. It's myself, William Maxwell. Joining me in the commentary booth today is Matt Guy, and well, on paper this looks like it could be a very even encounter today.
Absolutely, pre-tournament, everyone talking up this game as the crunch match between which team would be second in the group. Of course, anything can happen when it comes to England in major tournaments, but these two ranked 16th and 19th in the FIFA rankings across world football, so it would show and as we say, it's a World Cup match, anything can happen.
Exactly. On paper, Group B is the most difficult grouping. All 4 of the sides are in the top 20 of the FIFA World Rankings. As Serginho Dest comes forward, gets absolutely clattered by Ethan Ampadu. Does a bit of a somersault in the air before getting back onto his feet to trudge back into position, as our studio pictures focus in on the USA coach Greg Berhalter, knocking some orders out to his side. So it gives you an opportunity at least to run you through the lineups if you did miss them in the earlier preamble. For the USA, it's Turner in goal, Dest, Ream, Zimmerman and Robinson in the back 4, McKennie, Adams and Musa the midfield 3, with Sargent, Pulisic and Weah the front 3 up top for the Americans. For Wales, it's Hennessy in goal, a back 5 today of Williams, Davies, Mepham, Rodon and Roberts. Ramsey, Ampadu and Wilson make up the midfield 3, and it's Dan James and the talismanics are forward. Gareth Bale, captain of course of Wales as well, playing up front. Now, considering it's a game that on paper is a game they really need to win, or at the very least draw Wales, they're going to have a hope of getting into the next round. Does it surprise you that they're going a bit defensive with the back 5?
Well, they do like a back 5, and Connor Robertson, Williams sitting too deep, and that would allow Pulisic some space going forward, wouldn't it, for the Americans, if he's over the ball now with a free kick.
He is about 35 yards out here, the American star boy. The free kick around 35 yards, looking to play a bit of an in-swinger into the area rather than go for goal. It's a terrible delivery that's been comfortably dealt with, but it falls back to Pulisic. Goes right back towards Serginho Dest, formerly of Barcelona, now AC Milan, but he's unable to keep the ball in play. Will be a throw-in for Wales, an opportunity for them to finally get a bit further up the field. It's opening, almost 3 minutes gone, and we've not really seen Wales have any real spell of possession, nor actually get into the American half as of yet.
No, it was just that foul from Joe Rodon, wasn't it, earlier on, and yeah, they've now got the ball on the edge of their own box, but the Americans are staying quite high here, pushing quite high with that forward 3 of Pulisic, Weah, and of course Josh Sargent, the Norwich man. So it'll be interesting to see how Wales play out from the back, because of course the big news pre-match is that no Kiefer Moore in today's starting 11, and he is that target man for Wales, but without him, how are they going to play it? They're going to play football from the back along the ground. It's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Now a ball over the top here for Christian Pulisic, who does well to bring it down under pressure from Connor Roberts, does well to get a toe in the Burnley fullback to send it out for a corner kick for the Americans on the far left-hand side, and looks like it's going to be Christian Pulisic that will come over to take this and allow the opportunity of some of the bigger boys, particularly the two centre-backs of Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman, two very tall, imposing physical presences in the middle of the area. Obviously, without Kiefer Moore, they lose a bit of that aerial threat. Wales might have to go a bit more on the deck and try and utilise the counter-attacking pace, particularly of Dan James, whenever they find a way forward. But it is Christian Pulisic for the Americans here, counting 6, maybe 7 American players in the area to aim for. Drops the arm, Pulisic, just a better delivery. It's this time headed away by Mepham. No American player really got close to getting on the end of that, as it's mopped up by Weston McKennie. McKennie goes towards the left now for Pulisic, who's been heavily involved in these early exchanges. Drop of the shoulder, get away from Ramsey. It's crossed into the area, it's headed up into the air by Rodon. Further away by Mepham. Down by James, can't find a man in red. Picked up again by McKennie. And you mentioned it earlier, that high press of the Americans is really causing issues for this Welsh side. They're really struggling to string 2 passes together due to this pressure.
Yeah, they're being pegged back, aren't they? Absolutely. And the Americans look confident on the ball as well. They've got that midfield 3 of Ramsey and Wilson in between those two, Ampadu, but they're struggling to find those forward 2. And when they do, they seem to be losing it earlier on. And that battle in the midfield is a real key area. And it's probably down to the fullbacks to get them out, which puts a lot of demand on such a young talent that is Nico Williams at left fullback as well.
Well, he tries to set off Dan James these early exchanges. Zimmerman does well to trudge back and find the Arsenal goalkeeper Turner. He will spread it wide now towards Tim Ream. Wales trying to put a high press themselves, but Ream does well to bring this forward and find Pulisic, who's dropped deep. Now with Tyler Adams of Leeds United. 6 of the starting 11 for the Americans today ply their trade in England. 5 in the Premier League, of course Josh Sargent in the Championship with Norwich. Only Zimmerman, who plays outside of Europe, he plays for Nashville in the MLS. So it's an American side that maybe it's probably better on paper from previous years in the World Cup, because they're investing more into their football now, and you're clearly seeing the end product of it. You've got players playing on the biggest stage week in, week out in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. They're crossing those boundaries, aren't they, in terms of crossing that Atlantic and coming to European football, which is held in such high regard. And as you say, only Zimmerman, it shows the strength in this team, and not just that, the experience, as you say. Yes, they have some youngsters in there, in and around, like Musa and Weir and Sargent up front, but they've got experience, not just those 2 centre-halves to set them going forward, but Pulisic's played so many games across Europe, not just Chelsea, but Dortmund as well, and it's a real good blend in the side.
Yeah, so Williams has his pocket picked there by the Juventus midfielder Weston McKennie, then barges through the back of Nico Williams, as McKennie gives a odd blow of a kiss to the linesman in apologies for showing over Nico Williams. So the free kick's taken quickly, and it's a spread pass by Ben Davies, who immediately is pounced upon by the pace of Anthony Robinson. Goes back towards Mepham. Almost 7 minutes gone in this game so far. Listen to unofficial off-tube studio commentary. USA 0, Wales 0. Rodon finding Ramsey on the right-hand side. Haven't really seen a lot of Aaron Ramsey so far in these early exchanges. Goes back. That number 1 spot for his country, despite not actually playing a great deal of first-team football. Do you think, based on how well Leicester have recovered after their appalling start to the season, is it a little bit unfair for Danny Ward not to get a start today?
Perhaps, but there was a lot of talk at the start of the season in the Premier League, wasn't there, that
yes,
he was perhaps arguably up there for the title of worst keeper in the league, and yes, he's come back from that. Leicester have come back strongly under Brendan Rodgers. Caps or something for Wales now, and it's a good base to come from, and you need a vocal, confident keeper into a tournament like this.
Yes.
That's perhaps why Southgate and England are stuck with Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, very, very true, and of course Hennessy has that experience as well of being the number 1 goalkeeper for Wales in the previous Euros, the last 2 Euros in fact. There's an opportunity now with the number 3 in Zimmerman to find Ream. Robinson skips away from Mepham, has been caught, but no foul awarded initially here by the referee. Today is Abdul Rahman Al Jassim of Qatar. Adams away from Ampadu. Back now with Robinson. That's a nice pass to find Pulisic. The sliding tackle comes in from Mepham. will be another throw in for the Americans on the far left-hand side. Really well timed there by Chris Mepham, flying over to ensure he got a clear enough boot on it to divert it away from Christian Pulisic. 8.5 minutes in, and there's only really going to be one manager that's going to be happy with what he's seen from his side so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Americans who have been on top so far, confident on the ball. But having said that, the Welsh have held strong and not allowed any attempts on target, although a good ball over the top hip of Weah might see an opportunity.
It's a dangerous ball by Weah. The header comes in by Rodon, and it's actually straight at Hennessy, who thankfully for the Welsh was very well placed, and he parries the ball away. Still an opportunity here, though, for the Americans as Robinson gets across it. It's for Sargent, and again it's saved by Hennessy, who reacts in time to get a hand to it. I'm not sure if it clipped the outside of the post or how much Hennessy actually knew about it, but two big saves from the Welsh shot stopper.
Yeah, absolutely. The Welsh fans behind that side of this field are really trying to get behind their team, because that first header was unusual, wasn't it, from Joe Rodon? Anywhere else on target, and it's going past his own goalkeeper. The second ball from Robinson is absolutely beautiful stuff. He's in such great form and confidence for Fulham at the moment, and finds Josh Sargent. It does in the end hit the outside of the post, but the goalkeeper did come across to kind of cover off the angle. But you've got to say, the US have really got the Welsh team on the back foot, and perhaps Sargent probably should have done better.
Yeah, I think there's every argument to be made there that he should be, at the very least, hitting the target, if not scoring from that position. But it's the first real chance that we've had in this game in total, not only just testing the goalkeeper, and that really has got to be a bit of a wake-up call for Rob Page's men. They can't be complacent, they need to be alert, particularly against a side such as the Americans, who are just blessed with so much pace and youth within their side. And, well, Weah, that's the first time we've really seen him on the ball so far in this game, and he does well to bring the ball out of the air, but also then hit a cross on the volley, which forced Rodon to really have no other option but to throw his body at it. And thankfully for him, he was saved by his goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think the fact that it was slightly unusual from Weah is what caught Rodon off balance there. We just break off as Nico Williams has just been hit by a strong challenge there by Serginho Dest, and he's going to pick up a yellow card, is the American there. But yeah, just going back to it, I mean, it's fantastic technique from Weah on that right-hand side, and the confidence to hit it first time, just the trust that one of your men is going to be in there is quite something as well, isn't it? We just have another look at that one. It's slightly late, it's nothing too much in that one from Dest. I think the lateness probably warrants the yellow card, perhaps. Yeah,
I think that's my opinion as well. There's definitely no doubt that he doesn't get any of the ball whatsoever, but there's no studs up or anything. It's just a very untidy, forceful challenge from Serginho Dest, clearly bringing down Nico Williams, and a yellow card is probably the right decision there. But it was a needless tackle, really, by the American number 2. As Davies goes short towards Ampadu, back now with Davies once again, and Wales will try and start things from the back. Here is Rodon, not much in the way of support ahead of him, so we'll have to go back towards Wayne Hennessy, but the Americans are keeping a strong high line at the moment, really limiting the passing options for this Welsh back line, or to carve anything open. I don't think I really mentioned James or Bale having a touch so far in this first half, as Hennessy plays a long ball forward intending for Williams, headed away by Dest. That will go out of play for a throw-in for Wales midway inside the American half, and well, maybe it's a sign that they will look to try and get their way further up the field, but they need to bring in their captain at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. It was that long ball down the left, and it wasn't searching for anybody with any real commanding aerial presence, was it? And in the end, the gamble from Williams down the left, as we see another yellow card out here, this time for Weston McKennie. A couple of strong challenges here from the Americans, 2 yellow cards already, but it was Williams who went for the header and he lost it, and then the recovery run then is from Dan James, who has to drop into a left back position. If that one gets exploited by the Americans, then they could see themselves on a really good counter-attacking opportunity, and we'll just see another couple of replays of that tackle, not too dissimilar from the Dest one, in the fact that nothing really serious, but late.
Yeah, it wasn't serious, it was late, and it looks like McKennie's sort of having a few words with his former teammate, of course, Aaron Ramsey at Juventus. But it's another tackle that, yes, has been shown a yellow card, but it's also a very needless tackle to give away in that sort of position. There was no real pressure on the American defence, and once again it's Nico Williams has felt the brunt of it. And it'll be another free kick, but this time it's actually an opportunity for the Welsh to possibly float this into the area, and maybe thankfully for the USA, they're giving away free kicks in positions that Bale or Wilson can't really do much with.
Yeah, absolutely, and even where it is not too far from the halfway line, Greg Berhalter is saying to the referees that it's not in the right position, but yeah, it'll just be well stood into the box, and hopefully from the Welsh point of view that they can get a knock down to somebody else.
Yeah, so they'll try and bring some of the bigger boys forward, the likes of Rodon and Mepham, in and around the penalty area. Looks like there's 5 players lurking to try and make a burst in. It will be Harry Wilson that will take this once he is allowed, of course, as the referee has a few further words with the defending. Wilson's floated pass towards the far post, header on by Rodon. And well, the less said about that shot, the better, but it is at least a shot for Wales.
Yeah, it's a shot, it's an effort, isn't it? I thought initially, just for a split second, that it might have been dropping down to Gareth Bale. I was like, hey, up, here we go, chest it down, left foot, top corner, but no. Ethan Ampadu holding midfielder for Spezia nowadays, and it's never going to go in, that one, is it? It's very speculative. If he does that, he's a World Cup hero, but not today's form.
No, not at all. There's still time, of course, that to try and eclipse the wonder goal scored by Hal Robson-Kanu in that famous Euros run to the semi-finals back in 2016. As Ramsey does well to come over and knock the ball down for Mepham under pressure from Sargent. Down the line for the back heel of Bale. He can't find Ramsey, well intercepted by Musa. Now with McKennie, but now with Serginho Dest inside his own half. Now with Adams. Well to marshal the middle of the midfield so far, the Leeds United midfielder. Ream, back now with Zimmerman. Over towards the left-hand side again in the form of Tim Ream. Fulham defender does well to find Sargent. Good recovery tackle by Wilson, who's again down on the deck clutching his ankle, but no foul given by the referee. Wilson's back onto his feet but hobbling. Now Serginho Dest goes over towards Weah. McKennie facing the pressure by Ethan Ampadu. Not much in the way of movement, so McKennie is forced to go backwards towards Adams. Adams, that's a poor pass, sending Ream facing his own goal, and Bale will put the press on there. And the USA, well, Wales have done well, I should actually say, too, after giving away those 2 quick-fire chances that USA could have easily and maybe should have scored from at least one of them. They've done well to sort of shut up shop, so to speak, from a defensive point of view.
Yeah, it wasn't really a storm, but they've done well to weather it, haven't they?
Yeah.
Just calmed the game down and brought themselves into it a little bit more, and they're finding these little pockets in the middle of the park now. They're winning those little 50-50s. Of course, you mentioned Wilson just got caught. That was really an interception from a blindside angle, wasn't it? So it was very difficult for the American man not to catch Wilson, but they're certainly growing in confidence now, the Welsh. It's one of those, you've arrived on the big stage, that first 10 minutes, just get through it and then work your platform from there.
Hennessy will find Rodon. Pays the through ball intending for Bale. He's well tackled by Robinson. Mopped up though by Mepham. 1-2 with Wilson. You just wonder, with the way that the USA have started this game, you can clearly see the Americans are really up. Cards. Do you think it might be a case that Craig Holzer might just tell them just to calm down a little bit?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, we saw the Iranians against England. They put in a few late challenges. They're really going for it, weren't they? And sometimes that eagerness can reflect in the fact that you're not quite there. You're trying too hard, and that's perhaps why the Welsh have been able to get back into it. A little bit more experience, a little bit more in terms of settling down, and that's why the Americans are coming up against it a little bit. Including that one, Anthony Robinson getting fortunate as he gave it away. Yes,
and it's rebounded back to him, and now Pulisic will find Musa, who turns away, plays a crossfield pass, I should say, for Serginho Dest on the right-hand side. A little over 17 minutes gone in this game. Listening to unofficial off-tube studio commentary. USA 0, Wales 0. Only 2 efforts, well, 3 efforts really, of any note in this game so far. A quick-fire double for the Americans that hit the post and was saved by Hennessy. And Ampadu's half volley from around 35-40 yards out, going comfortably over that Turner's goal. As Robinson is tackled by Roberts. James can't bring the ball down. That was a good opportunity, though, there for the Fulham midfielder, playing up top today to try and utilise his supreme pace. Hasn't really been able to get behind this American backline, but the Americans also have a pretty quick defence as well, so maybe they're doing well to actually nullify that attacking outlet of Dan James, because that's always been an issue with his game, Dan James. He's got so much pace, but he's very one-dimensional. If you can nullify that, he doesn't offer as too much going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about Americans and watching his play, of course. They've got the Leeds manager, Jesse Marsh, as well. He's watched Dan James and decided not to keep him this season and gave him to Fulham on loan, of course. And that's perhaps one thing that he was looking at. But that opportunity...
Yeah, of course, and it might also help that Dan James is playing against his teammate, of course, Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson, both playing for Fulham, as the clearance, I think, has come off Pulisic. Maybe came off a Welshman last. Pulisic is appealing for that, but it has been given as a goal kick. It did look like it came off a Welsh boot last. Not sure if we're going to see a replay of that or not. It looks like the Welsh have survived, at least for the time being. As we await this goal kick to be taken. Pulisic, I think, has now got over that decision going against him.
There's a wry smile on his face.
Yes, a very wry smile, and I can very much understand it as well, because it did look like it was a bit of a error by the referee there to give this decision in favour of the Welsh. As Wilson goes back towards Rodon, who's got acres of space and time, but it's all on the edge of his area. Will be slowly pressurised by Josh Sargent, who looks to be playing more centrally, Weah on the right-hand side rather than the initial Weah down the Dan James. He won't beat Dest to the ball. Dest will go all the way back towards Matt Turner, who's had next to nothing to do, really, both with his hands or with his feet. And well, the game at the moment is being sort of marred in the middle of the midfield, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's almost a back three at times for America, in the fact that the two centre-halves drop deep, perhaps looking at Dan James in front of them to try and stop that pace of getting them in behind, but Dest is sat so deep. And then on the right-hand side, you've got McKennie, and on the left, you've got Anthony Robinson flying forward. They're trying a few different things out to try and work out the best way to get past this Welsh defensive line. But as you say, it's all in the midfield. It's that scrap, and who gets on top of those 50-50 battles more often than not probably find themselves creating more chances. Wilson
goes all the way back towards Hennessy, under no real pressure from any man in white for the USA. Hennessy looks up and looks at punter ball down the right-hand side, intending for Gareth Bale, headed away by Tim Ream. Adams will let that run for Robinson, and the pace of the wing toe to it. Rodon is going to let that go for Davies on the edge of their own area at the moment, Wales. They need to try and get more of the possession in around the middle of the park. Maybe try and get Ramsey on the ball more. Barely mentioned the Welsh midfielder. Now applies his trade, of course, in the French Ligue 1 with Nice. And, well, behind Gareth Bale, you'd probably say that on paper he is probably one of the main focal points from an attacking perspective, but he hasn't had the happiest of times, both club and internationally.
No, absolutely not, and it's those midfield areas that we're looking to Wales now and thinking who's going to control this game, because Wilson is not really in a set position. He's slightly on the left-hand side, but he's trying to get forward up with Dan James. And James and Bale in between the lines of the midfield and defence, and yeah, that's perhaps where this Welsh team are lacking right now, and it's clear, isn't it? This is not a confident Aaron Ramsey that we saw in his wonder days at Arsenal.
No, not at all. His move to Juventus never really panned out, and he's now been offloaded to the Ligue 1 side Nice, one of only a handful of players, I think 4 in total in the Welsh squad that play outside of the English top 4 divisions. Joe Rodon, of course, currently on loan at Stade Rennais. Got Gareth Bale, plays for Los Angeles, and Ethan Ampadu, of course, at Spezia in Serie A. Here's Pulisic, through ball to Robinson, opportunity, good quick feet by the American, as ball into the area is dealt with by Ampadu. It was a good first touch to stun the initial cross and then hammer the ball away from danger, but once again Robinson looks so dangerous down that left-hand side.
Yeah, just flowing with confidence, isn't he? Every single time he gets the ball, he wants to drive with it. He's done really well there. It wasn't the greatest cross in the terms that he's whipped it in, it's gone exactly where he wanted, but there were a couple of deflections in there, could have gone anywhere. If he keeps that up down that left-hand side, keeps troubling this Welsh defence, then he could do really well in this game. In fact, he's pushing so high up on that left-hand side that Connor Roberts cannot get forward from it.
Yeah, and that's a really big nullifying point for Wales, because Roberts is so adept going forward. He's got a wonderful delivery on him and caused so many issues. In fact, he is playing so high up, he's completely derailing the Welsh's plans from an attacking perspective, as the long ball forward intending for Robinson comes off his head. Roberts is there to mop up, but I think that will come off of Robinson last and go out for a goal kick for Wales. We have passed the 23rd minute of this.
Well, it's been one of those games, hasn't it? 50-50 so far, although the Americans have had the best opportunities. The Welsh have grown into this game and started to hold possession a little better. Both sides seem a little bit cagey. They know how important this game could be in the group. As Ethan Ampadu fires a really good ball into the middle of the park up towards Harry Wilson. Ramsey trying to get involved in the game now, whips it out to the right-hand side. Roberts turns inside again to Ramsey. Good first-time ball out to the right. And here, down that right-hand side comes Gareth Bale. Flicks one inside, a little bit ambitious. Behind Ramsey it goes, but brilliant reading of the play there by Ben Davies. Couldn't quite hold on to the ball in the end, but did really well to put a foot in initially, and then good pressure as well from Williams on the American Timothy Weah on this near side. The Welsh are certainly the team winning those 50-50s now.
Yeah, they've grown into this game massively after the initial shock of the opening 10 minutes. They're going in for the second balls, and there was really well read by Ben Davies to cut out that pass intending for Weah. Another late tackle comes in, this time from the American captain, Tyler Adams. But they're making more of a fist of things now, Wales. They're maybe riling up the Americans, which is causing them to have sloppy passes and maybe give away silly fouls like that on Aaron Ramsey, although I can't really say Adams did a great deal wrong there. He stumbles into Ramsey more than anything. But Wales, credit to them, they've ridden, like you mentioned earlier, they've ridden that storm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite interesting just watching the dynamic between this referee and the players. He goes over to Tyler Adams to tell him just to keep his head, but I think in the end it was Christian Pulisic who went over to the referee to say, no, referee, you keep your head. You're the one that's brought out 2 yellow cards so quickly, so early on in this game, and you put yourself under pressure when it comes to more. As just on that near side of the field, it's a good tackle in there from now finds an open man in Robinson on the left. Deep cross to come in, floated in towards the back post. It's a good header, though good positioning from the Spurs man in Davies, and in the end it's turned back to him by Dan James. Flicked out to the left again, this time to Harry Wilson.